It's time to turn the page, as the Jets players said after the game in the locker room. We have no choice, and that's true because we have a Black Friday special. The New York Jets, Miami Dolphins, Black Friday for the first time ever, 3 o'clock on Friday. And to learn a little bit more about it, we got to dive in on the Miami Dolphins side of things. Plus, there was a Jets quarterback change. Let's roll. Zoinks! It is unequivocally the Super Bowl for New York Jet fans.
Field Yates, baby. Field Gosh darn Yates. Let's bring him on the show.
Come on, people. Connor Rogers is joining the show. What's up, Connor? But Trevor Gosh darn Sycamore, baby, for me, personally, my favorite New York Jet of all time.
Wow, it's great to be on. What an intro that was right there.
Paul, nobody does an intro like you, man.
Paul, you give the best intro of literally any podcast that I've ever been.
I'm gonna lose my gosh darn bananas.
Tim Boyle time, I guess. Welcome to Boy Green Daily, a daily New York Jets video show. My name is Paul Eston Jr., a.k.a. Boy Green. We're streaming live right now in 3 different places. The Heavy on Jets Facebook page to 40,000 New York Jet fans. Thanks for joining us. YouTube.com/BoyGreen25 and on Twitter as well, at BoyGreen25 as well. So, guys, make sure you enjoy watching. Also, the audio-only version is available shortly after this. Wherever you find your podcast, simply search for Boy Green Daily. Anytime the Jets and Dolphins talk, there's only one man I reach out to, and this is his first time on this program in particular. We've been doing this the last couple of months, and until I'm dead, we'll keep doing this show, so that should be a lot of fun. And with that being said, Brian Miller, Fin Fanatic, we do this and we bring him back on. Good morning, Brian.
Hey, good morning, Paul. How are you?
Well, I'm going to be honest. When they kind of announced this as a game, I'm like, man, Aaron Rodgers, the Dolphins, AFC East supremacy potentially being on the line. Hell, I mean, if the Jets would have beaten the Bills, there still could have been even more verve potentially to this game. But it is lacking a little bit in that, but not quite for your Dolphins. Wow. Only 3 losses on the season. I don't know what losing to the Eagles like because the Jets never did that. But, as one of those losses, looks like a pretty solid season for your Fins, man.
I get excited over this, but the reality is that we were 8-3 last year. We see what happened at the end of the year. So do I jump up and down and get excited and fist pump? No, I don't. You know me. We've been doing this for so long. I'm more of a realist. I'm not some bandwagon fan. And I kind of look at this and go, all right, there's a reality to the team, and you and I are going to discuss that today. So, this is Jets week or Dolphins week if you're a Jets fan. And we both know you can be 0-8 at this point, 0-10 at this point, and the other team could be undefeated, and it doesn't have any bearing whatsoever on the outcome of this game. Before we start, though, I just want to let you know, look, I'm trying to make that look for you. I did this for you.
I noticed that. Yeah. So a bit more TLC, a bit more love, and I don't know how long it grows for you. Yeah, that's right. And then just make sure you take care of it every day. And chia, I think we'll have a full-grown beard in no time, pal. I think we'll have a full-grown beard in no time. I like that. Hey, so Jets make a quarterback change before, in between, basically our yesterday morning episode and today. I don't want to say that scares you, but does that even register on the scale? Because sometimes sparks and jolts can happen. Obviously, that's what the Jets are hoping for with a quarterback change. And Zach Wilson ain't going to QB2. He's going to QB3. He will be as the emergency third quarterback with the new NFL rule, but Trevor Siemian will be the backup. He's going to be brought up from the practice squad here officially coming up in a couple of hours. But what do you make of a change to a guy that's barely ever played? He only has 3 starts in his career in Tim Boyle.
I don't put a lot of stock into it because this is a guy that has played before. So it's not like he's being thrown out to the wolves and saying, here you go. I mean, he's got 3 starts. This will be his third start. I would have rather had Zach Wilson right now because Wilson is so up against the wall. He's forcing the plays. He's trying to carry. He's trying to do something, and he's making a lot of mistakes. You're talking about a guy like Boiler who's going to come in and he's got there's no weight on his shoulders. If he loses, he loses. He's going to go out. He's going to play big. He's going to try to showcase his arm strength. He's going to try and show a little bit of his talent. But you know what? If he throws a couple of picks, who cares? There's no pressure on him. Zach Wilson's pressure was self-imposed, and it just kept getting worse and worse and worse every week. So he goes out there, and the guy's just trying to do something and anything to get some rhythm, and he's making mistakes. So in reality, I'd rather play that guy. Zach Wilson's got the experience, but he's trying too hard, and that's not going to change in 1 week. This guy, he doesn't have the weight of his shoulders. He doesn't have the weight of the organization on his chest. So he's going to go out and just play football and have fun.
What's the line drawn in the sand for the Dolphins? Because obviously the Bills are struggling more than ever. They're now at 6-5 after beating the Jets, but the Dolphins are at 7-3. I know that technically that's only a 2-game separation, and the Bills have the head-to-head tiebreaker. But there's a ceiling, obviously, with the more losses the Bills collect. There's only so far they can go, and they have an incredibly tough schedule. Is there a number in the Dolphins' mind? Okay, if we get to 10 wins, if we get to 11, like it's over, okay, we have the division wrapped up?
No, because you've got to look at, and I know most Dolphins fans aren't going to agree with me, but that's how it is. You got 2 games against the Jets. Probably going to split those, if we're being realistic. I think the Dolphins obviously are the better of the 2 teams. I think the Dolphins should be able to beat New York twice, but hey, it's New York, so let's just be realistic. Potentially that you're going to split on these. Miami still has games against Buffalo, like you mentioned. They have Dallas on their schedule. They have the Ravens on their schedule. So those are 3 games right down. Those are the last 3 or 4 games. Those are going to be tough. So if you look at this realistically, there's no number that you can say. You've got to play every week like you're holding on to a lead. And every time that the Bills lose, you got to hope that you can get another victory to keep separation. Because you could very easily end up the last week of the season either tied with the Bills, which you said the Bills would have the tiebreaker, or you've got a 1-game lead where you could potentially let them back in. So there's no magic number this year. And if you look around the entire AFC, there's no magic number. I mean, we've got 4 teams at 7-3. The Ravens are 8-3. This is anybody's ball game right now. And then you start talking about the teams that are 6 wins. There's not a lot separating in the AFC this year at all. And I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that there's so many good quarterbacks in the AFC.
No, that's for sure too. And then unfortunately, we've lost a few. Obviously, the Rodgers injury, obviously Burrow and Deshaun Watson. So there's been a few. By the way, just real quick, you mentioned the schedule. I mean, whose Cheerios did the Dolphins piss in from an NFL schedule making perspective? The final 3: home for Cowboys, at Baltimore, home for Buffalo. Good Lord have mercy. And then obviously, if Aaron Rodgers would have been there would have been even more chutzpah for the Jets in that final month. But those 3 alone, good Lord, Brian, this is that's quite a doozy.
Well, I mean, you guys started off with a tough schedule.
That's true, I suppose.
They're putting Miami, and everybody's making a big deal out of the last 3 games with Miami. I mean, if you look at the Buffalo Bills schedule, it's even worse. But the Dolphins are in a position where, when they come back from New York, I think they've only got 2 road games left on their schedule. It's like 5 of the last games are all at home.
That's true.
They played Buffalo.
That's a good way to put it.
Jets at home. They've got Tennessee at home. They've got the Cowboys at home. So there's a lot of home games, in Miami. So you can say that the schedule makers don't like them very much, but at least they put them at home, and they put them in one of those stretches where Miami's going to be home for quite a bit.
Hey, by the way, what happened to Devon Achane? First off, how what's the right word to use? Because there's all the Dalvin Cook stuff, Jets, Dolphins, who's going to get him? And then the Jets quote unquote won him, and then the Dolphins are like, well, I guess we'll have this Devon Achane guy, and then he goes crazy. But I heard he got hurt early in that Raiders game. Is that serious? Was that a re-injury to what he already had? What's going on there?
Yeah, it's a re-injury. He hurt his right. I'm not quite sure which knee it was, but whatever knee it was, it put him on IR for 4 weeks. He came back. He tweaked it again. Mike McDaniel's calling it a day-to-day this week. I'm thinking, if you tweaked it coming right back off of IR, don't stick him back out there. Let him rest a couple weeks if you don't need him. I mean, the Dolphins still have Jeff Wilson. They've got Raheem Mostert. They've got Salvon Ahmed. Are they great players? Mostert's playing fantastic this year. And, there's a lot of injuries on the offensive line. So for me, I don't know if it's serious. It's not going to require surgery from what McDaniel said, but I'm resting the guy. I'm not throwing him back out there for a game when he just tweaked it last week. you could very easily put this guy out there and end up having him on IR for the rest of the year. But there's obviously something there that's causing a problem, but it could be nothing more than just a little bit of some swelling, maybe a little, I mean, I'm old, man. I get out of bed and I go, oh, God, really? I just hit that to my knee again. Maybe it's something like that. I don't know. But it's not serious, but it may keep him out.
Yeah, I'm going to be honest. When Tyreek Hill in the offseason said, I'm going for 2,000 yards, I did a heavy eye roll. I'm like, yeah, sure, pal. Okay. But now, as we look at the numbers, 10 games into the season, he already has 1,200 yards. You'd start doing the math. It's possible. Is he getting that number? Is he getting the $2,000 for the first time ever?
No. Again, I mean, I could sit here and be, Dolphin Brian and, Dolphins fan and fins up and, hey, he's going to do it. No, he's not going to do it. He's going to put up good numbers against the Tennessee Titans. He's going to put up good numbers maybe against the Ravens because the Ravens defense plays a little bit different. He's not going to put up those numbers against the Jets. He's not going to put those numbers up against the Bills, and he's not going to put them up against Dallas. And those are 4 very important games to get to 2,000. You're going to have to average 111 yards per game. Is he going to do that against Dallas, the Jets twice, and the Bills? I don't see that happening. I think he might have one good game against the Jets to where he's putting up 90, depending on how the plays, go out. But if I'm betting, I'm not betting on 2,000 yards, even from what I'm seeing now. I think he comes pretty close. But I think, like you had mentioned, this is a tough schedule at the end of the year. And I think that, the Dolphins rely a little bit too much on Tyreek Hill. And I think they're trying to push that 2K narrative. And I think they play better when they're not trying to push the ball to him.
That's interesting that you mentioned that because that's what I was looking at. I was looking at the gap where there's this massive gap this season between Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. It's like 700 yards or something. But when I go back to last year, I'm looking at the final numbers. It's less than a 400-yard difference between what Hill brought, what Waddle brought. Is that a thing they've been forcing it too much to Tyreek? Has Jalen just not been as effective this year? Why is there that massive gap this year that really didn't exist last season?
I think there's a combination of the two. Waddle's been banged up a little bit, so he's missed some plays. He hasn't missed a game, but he's missed some series. And I do think that there's a push to keep Tyreek happy. I mean, when you have a big time receiver, you're trying to keep that guy happy. And in this situation, I think that's what we're seeing. If you want to see who the Dolphins are, go to this past Sunday when Tyreek Hill, I think it was the series before the half, he hurt his wrist. And he was taken to the locker room. The Dolphins came out and ended up scoring a touchdown without Tyreek Hill on the field. That was a very, very interesting drive because the Dolphins actually they played so well. They moved the ball around. Different players got involved. And Tua Tagovailoa wasn't just sitting there throwing the ball directly to Tyreek Hill every single play. His first read wasn't Tyreek Hill. So it was kind of spread around a little bit. So I think when you look at this, yeah, the Dolphins are definitely trying to feed him the ball, but he's your playmaker. But I think they also need to realize that there are times where you need to, hey, he's a decoy. Use somebody else if you need to win the game.
Interesting. Again, we're speaking with Brian Miller, a Fin Fanatic here on Boy Green Daily. Guys, keep the comments flowing. If you'd like any of those questions, can jump in here. What about Vic Fangio? So he comes over, he takes over on defense. How has that experience been through whatever it is, the first 10 games of the season? Lived up to your expectations, below, somewhere in the middle?
It's so funny because when we started the season, I think 3, maybe 4 weeks in, everybody's questioning this. Vic Fangio is supposed to be a genius. The Dolphins defense isn't playing very well, but you go over the last 3 or 4 games, they've given up a total of 17 points. They're averaging 17 points. Their defense is playing phenomenal. So everything's starting to click with the defenders. But what's very interesting is you go all the way back to training camp, and Vic Fangio was asked about the defense, and he says, hey, you know what? I don't have the personnel right now. We're still evaluating, and there's a lot of players that he doesn't have. That he needs to have. He needs to have a big linebacker that can make plays. And Jerome Baker is not as consistent as he needs to be. We're relying on guys like Andrew Van Ginkel and David Long, and these guys would be backups on any other team too. So the fact that we're seeing them integrated and starting, the Dolphins need a huge, big time, middle linebacker that can control the defense, and that's what Vic Fangio is used to. On the other side of that coin, Bradley Chubb has just slid right back into the way he was playing under Fangio in Denver. And with Jalen Ramsey coming back, that's giving a whole new level of the secondary play. So we're seeing better play from some of the other corners because they're not challenging Jalen Ramsey. They're not challenging Xavier Howard as much. And this is freeing up players to make plays. And Vic Fangio's defense relies on the play of the secondary, the cornerbacks and the safeties. And we're starting to see that now that Ramsey's back.
Man, I saw Ramsey against the Raiders, the diving interception in the middle of the field. Of course, the sealer, the game ender, that was a little bit scary. I think he just probably fell on the ball. It's probably what happened there with Jalen. But, man, he looks – I'm going to be honest, when he gets hurt early and then they're trying to, diagnose when he could potentially come back up, maybe December timeframe or God knows what, when he first gets injured. Man, I don't think there's any – it doesn't seem to be from the outside looking in. It looks like he's almost the same player that he was a bunch of years ago with both the Jackson Rams respectively. Looks like.
Yeah, that's kind of how I feel too. I'm seeing a different player out there. If you look at the way he was the last 2 years with LA, when the trade was made, it was like, okay, Ramsey's kind of getting to that point where his career is kind of turning. Man, you wouldn't know it by watching him play this year. He looks like he's a spry young, like playing 5-6 years ago like he was. He's playing great football right now.
What about Tua? How's Tua playing? I think the annoying question I'm sure Dolphins fans continued to ask and answer and talk about was like, hey, what are expectations for the Dolphins this year? They're like, well, if Tua can stay healthy, And, 10 games in, it looks like Tua stayed healthy.
When I talk about Tua, this is the only political conversation I have. All right. You have the far left. Those are the people that Tua can do no wrong. You have the far right. Everything Tua does is absolutely horrible. The guy is an atrocious quarterback. And then you have the people in the middle that are fans that just kind of go, he's winning games. You put if Tua is doing for another football team like he's doing with the Dolphins where he's winning, if he was playing with the Jets would not be where they are right now. I think they would be better. I mean, considerably. I think he needs a better offensive line. There's been a lot of injuries, and I think he tends to force the ball a little bit too much. Is he a great quarterback? No, he's not. He is better than average. He is a very good, consistent quarterback. And I think in the NFL, you need to have a quarterback like that from time to time. Not everybody's going to be Patrick Mahomes. We've seen Josh Allen, and he's got a lot of hiccups in his game. Jalen Hurts last night, we saw he had a lot of hiccups in his game. So every quarterback's got an issue. You can sit and nitpick every single one of them. And Tua's no different. The difference with Tua is he's so likable and everybody likes being around him. He's an easy target for everybody else to want to hate him. So, but I mean, you can't be disappointed with his play because he goes out and I didn't think he had a great game on Sunday. He threw for 99 yards or something. Yeah. 2 touchdowns, 1 interception, had a quarterback rating of I think like 111 or something like that. So how do you sit down and write on Monday Tua Tagovailoa had a bad game on Sunday without getting completely destroyed by everybody on Facebook? So he's a good quarterback. He just needs to be, in my opinion, needs to make some smarter decisions from time to time when the game's on the line. But he goes like every other quarterback. He goes through ups and downs. I mean, even Tom Brady was never perfect.
Yeah, it's just, man, the numbers are incredible, though. A near 70% completion percentage for Tua, basically a 3-to-1 touchdown interception ratio. It's 21-8, and then nearly 3,000 yards through the first 10 games of the season. And obviously the ability, I don't have the next-gen stats in front of me, but how quickly he gets rid of the ball, too, has been notable this year. Obviously, that's kind of his shish kebab, but nonetheless, wow, the numbers on paper, though, are just crazy. Because Jet fans are like, whoa. Okay, nice. And wish we had some of those. Yeah.
The thing that's not on there that you don't see in the stat sheet, if you listen to the mainstream media, who are they're the worst in my opinion, because I think that there's an agenda of some sort, whether it's just personal bias. I don't care what it is, but if you listen to them, Tua's dumping the ball 5-8 yards, Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle are taking off with it, and that's not the case. He's throwing the ball 10, 15, 20 yards downfield, and these guys are breaking, tackles, and they're moving the ball. So it's not like his completions are dump-off passes. Yeah, he's got some, all quarterbacks do, but if you really sit down and look at his throws, every single one of his throws, most of them are down the field, and he is taking shots downfield. So in that regard, I think that's something that doesn't show on a stat line. And I think that there's this misconception that Tua is dropping back to pass and throwing under, just through the seam or hitting somebody outside or above the linebacker. But he's not. He's going 20 yards down the field consistently. And I think that's something that's missed. And I think that, for Jets fans, I think you'll be surprised when his attempts are going to be further downfield than what most people think that they will be.
Is this the Dolphins' year? You think about the AFC, we talked about all these teams that are down. Buffalo down, although they're obviously still in the conversation. But Joe Burrow out, Deshaun Watson out for those who, whatever side of the fence you were on with him. You start peeking at a couple of guys. You squint. Chiefs lose last night too. You start looking at the path. It looks like it's a little bit more clear than a lot of people would have expected at the beginning of the year with the Dolphins in this car. Well, what do you think of, Brian?
Every time that you and I get on here, you put me on the spot like that. Every time. You know me. You know my answer because I'm not an idiot. I think this year is probably a very, very good opportunity for them. Is it their year? They need to prove it. That's their job to go out and take it. When you lose to teams like the Bills, I don't have a problem with that. You played in Buffalo. I expect the Dolphins to play this Friday, and it's going to be a very tough game against the Jets because that's how it always is when you play on the road against a division team. We played week 2 against the Patriots and almost let them back in, and the Patriots aren't a very good football team. When you lose to a team like Kansas City in Germany, it was a very close game. You look at all of the things that the Dolphins could have done differently to win that game, but realistically, you held, Patrick Mahomes to under 200 yards. They had no rushing game. You made them turn the ball over. You led every statistical category, and you still lost. So there's a lot of potential for this team to win. They are set up to win, and I think the season favors their opportunity. Will they take it is a different story. Is this their year? I'm not going to sit there. I'm not a Bills fan who, I didn't win the Super Bowl in week 4, when they beat Miami. You guys didn't win the Super Bowl if you beat us this week. So there's a lot of games to play. I think that they have the talent to win. I think their defense is peaking at the right time. But you and I both know it only takes a couple of injuries to completely derail this. And I'm not 100% certain that the Dolphins can withstand all of it. But if we look at the offensive line, we've had basically 4 different players playing. The only consistent player was Austin Jackson at left tackle or right tackle. Everybody else has been seen a different player there. So there's a lot of things that can happen between now and the end of the season. But I think the Dolphins are in a position where, this is a year that they can advance in the playoffs and make a statement. But again, look at the rest of the AFC. Jacksonville, Cleveland, Pittsburgh. These are teams that are right there as well. So ask them, and they're going to say the same thing.
All right, let's get a couple of quickies before we get you out of here. It is Thanksgiving week. What is the best Thanksgiving side dish, Ryan Miller?
A victory over the Cats.
Isn't that it? Isn't that full circle? Very nice.
You know what? I do all the cooking here in my house, and I do all the things. Yeah, I kind of took it over from my wife years ago. She's in retail, so that's a great question. I mean, corn casserole.
Wow. Okay. All right.
I mean, I guess you got to have mashed potatoes.
Sure. That's high on the list.
Okay, so here, my go-to is I have to have dressing, stuffing, cranberry sauce, because for me, I don't care about Thanksgiving dinner. I care about the sandwich that I'm going to make the following day.
As do I.
And that's what I need on that sandwich. So that's good. You can have everything else in the world you want. But okay, so you're a New Yorker, I'm a Southerner. So what's the best side dish, man?
Well, I'm going to be honest. I'm a little biased as I am in New York now, but I'm a Southern boy. Grew up in Georgia, South Carolina, so I've tried to bring the Southern tradition up north of the border. But I'm not sure if it's sold yet. No. We don't go. That's too south. We got to avoid that. But all the fixins though. You got the mashed potatoes. Me personally, I just love the turkey sandwiches for as long as possible.
Exactly.
That to me is the best.
Yeah, I'm gonna let you in on a secret, and all your listeners on a secret. This is my Christmas present to all of you. If you have a freezer, a garage freezer, just a standalone freezer.
Yep.
When these turkeys go on sale for 29 cents a pound, when you spend X amount of money at the grocery store,
Yes. Yeah.
buy them. I've got 5 in my freezer right now. I have turkey all year long.
Oh, that's the thing. I miss out on that.
I have turkey.
That's smart. That's smart. Okay, what's the worst Thanksgiving side dish? What's the worst? Come on, what's overrated or something? Everyone talks up, but sucks.
I don't know because I don't have a green bean casserole. I can completely live. I can completely live without it. It doesn't have to be on my table. I can deal with everything else, but green bean casserole, yeah, and I like green beans. Don't get me wrong, but we Dolphins fans like eating things that are green.
Hey now, I like that.
So no, I don't need that on my table.
Okay, and are you a pumpkin pie guy?
I like pumpkin pie. Yeah, I'm a pie guy. I'm not a cake guy. So
okay, as am I. Yeah,
pecan pie, pumpkin pie. Yeah, I'm good with all that.
All right, finish us off with the main dish. Prediction time. Jets, Dolphins, Friday, Black Friday, 3:00. Very weird, but I'm all for it, baby. Hey, football on I would have had college football on instead, but now I got NFL football. A little Jets, Dolphins action. What's happening in this game?
21-17 Miami.
Okay. I like the close game. Good for the fans. Okay.
It is. I think every year that you and I talk, I kind of go, I don't really make predictions. At 21-17, I'm just going to come out. You're going to hold gun to my head every ding time we talk. And the bad part is we do this again in like 3 weeks. So
that's true. Yeah, it's right around the corner. Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's going to be a close game. I think your quarterback is going to, like I said before, he doesn't have the weight on his shoulders. He can come out, he can play football and just, this is backyard type stuff. This is, hey, go in and play football on the street or down at the high school and just have fun. And that's kind of where he's at because there's we all know the Jets season, you guys aren't making the playoffs this year unless there's, God reaches his hand down and just wipes everybody away and says, there you go. It's all yours. You guys got a lot of games ahead of you that you're going to struggle. And this quarterback doesn't have to worry about leading the team into the postseason. He just needs to get the ship right so that maybe keep it going in case Rodgers does, for some miracle reason, come back in December, which we didn't talk about. We'll talk about again next time.
Yeah.
Yeah,
maybe he'll be ready for that game. Maybe he'll be in for that game.
Yeah, I'd be shocked. But would you want, would you want to play? Would you, as a Jets fan, would you want your quarterback coming back from an Achilles in the same season? To me, I'd just be like, it's a Jet thing. You know how the Jets are.
Oh, I know what you're going to say.
Yeah. Bring him back, and he hurts it again, and he's all out next year.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's the fear.
It is, of course.
Yeah.
But this weekend, I think Friday's going to be a close game. I think it's going to be a fun game for fans to watch. Frustrating for both teams at times. Yeah. I think Dolphins fans are going to be extremely upset. But we're playing one of the best teams in the defenses, one of the best defenses in the NFL. And this is the thing that I try to tell my readers too, and anybody that'll listen. The Jets play more physical football than any team I've seen this year. They are smack mouth in your face. I'm not going to just try to go through you. I'm going to hurt you in the process. And the Dolphins don't play very well against teams that are that physical. You guys are going to play the Dolphins wide receivers up on the line. You're going to stop them from getting into their routes right away. And if Miami's not using a bunch of motion to try to get Tyreek Hill off of the line without being hit, it's going to be a long day. And we've seen that every time teams have played Miami that way. And against the Raiders, that's how they played it. So I expect that from the Jets as well. The Jets are a lot better of a defense, so that's going to keep the game down. The difference is going to be the turnovers. Miami has been turning the ball over quite a bit lately, and the Jets have a quarterback that's potentially going to turn the ball over. I expect the Jets to run the ball a lot and just keep pounding it down and trying to wear out Miami's defense, and I think if they can control the clock that way, it's going to stay very close.
All right, interesting. Well, Brian, as always, thanks for joining us. We'll do this again in a handful of weeks. Happy holidays to you and your family, and good luck with all your cooking that'll be happening with you taking that over the last couple of years. So, man, appreciate you.
Happy Thanksgiving to you as well, and I will talk to you in a few weeks. And right now, I think I'm going to get off here and go watch that dancing video of you on the cruise.
Oh boy, yeah, that's out there. Hey, whatever it takes in front of random strangers on a big ass cruise ship. Yeah, that happened.
Always a pleasure, Paul.
Yeah, that's a lot of fun. Thanks, Brian. Thanks everybody for tuning in, and we'll be back tomorrow morning. We will have a show every day through the holidays. So thanks everybody for tuning in, and